Okay, there were two requests for this tutorial. Basically, someone pointed out that an error occurs when you reach a certain point in the program. The reason for that is if we go to our GM script, okay, there is a list variable saying which note should be played, okay? We also have another variable that says which is the one that is being played. So this is a list. This one is the marker saying, or the index saying, where are you in this list? So what happens is with every second that passes, okay, note mark increases by 1. Okay, so what happens is if there's say 20 here and note mark goes to 21, well, it's trying to find a position that doesn't exist, and so you get an out of range number. So the key is you just have to not let this go too high, and that would be the basically the end of song scenario. We haven't done that yet, but pretty much going into this, you would know how many notes you have, and once a note mark hits that, you would simply not increase it anymore. And as far as the second issue that people were asking about, and that's scoring. Well, scoring is actually pretty straightforward. It's just having a static variable and increasing that static variable. So it has to be static, that way it can be read across different objects and different scripts. So in the GM script here, let's create public static. We're going to make it a float for calculation purposes. So public static float, we'll call this total score, and it'll start off as 0. Now it's just a matter of increasing this every time that you have one right. Now, something else that can be done, and again, I really don't play this type of game. I have the basic understanding because, I've seen some of the videos and stuff, and I'm familiar with the type of game. I just don't play them myself. So depending on what you're doing, you may want to penalize someone for hitting the wrong button. So it's not just scoring, getting points for the right button, it's also penalizing them for the wrong one. So maybe for the right button, okay, so in the note control script, we already have a section carved out for success and fail, okay. So for the success collider, you could do something like take that new variable, so gm.totalScore plus equals 10. So you get 10 points every time you get something right. But maybe you lose a point for every time you get something wrong. So in the fail section, it would be gm.totalScore minus equals. So you're adding 10 points every time you get one right. You subtract a point every time you get one wrong. Maybe you would also have a check to make sure this doesn't go below 0. We'll save that. So now, proper thing to do would be to have the built-in UI to display the score. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to use a text mesh. So game object, create empty, add component, mesh, text mesh. Let's set the character size at 0.15 or else it'll be blurry. Let's put this at 0, 0, 0. Slide it over to the right. And let's have this be a font of Arial. And let's check the position, and so we'll just type in test. Okay, so there it is. So let's bring it closer. That'll make it bigger. And again, the real proper way would be to create, so game object and UI, and create a text object. But like I said, kind of taking a shortcut here just so you get the idea of how you transfer a value into a text field. Now don't worry about the fact that it says test, that's going to get overwritten. And now what you do is you just need a script to control that. So right click, create, C#, and we'll call this score con for strict score control. So we'll click on the game object, and we'll put the score icon on it. Now, another way to do this is you could create a transform variable for this and attach it to the guitar, which is acting like a GM, because we have the GM script attached to it, and have the GM script modify it. 6 one way, 1/2 dozen the other. Doesn't matter. So we put score icon on it, and we're going to open that up. So in the score icon, basically we just need the value to be set to whatever word we want, say score, and concatenate that value, and that is you're putting two strings together. Concatenate that value with so the word score and then the actual value, which is, as we said, this. Okay. So in the update section, because you want this to happen every frame, get component text mesh text equals, so the word score, a space, colon, another space, just so it looks good. And then the plus sign. This I find a little odd. Rather than use an ampersand, it allows you to use a plus sign for concatenating. But that's what it allows. Plus GM dot total score. And I think that should be enough to do it. Let's take a look. So as you can see, score is going up. And every time you miss, it decreases. So actually, I think I misspoke earlier. So this is if you, so you're both getting points for getting it right, but you're also losing points for getting it wrong. What I said is if you had pressed the button and there was no note to be hit, so you hit an extra key. I was looking to see if we really had a solid way of determining. I'll have to do that in another video. I was looking to see if we had a way of tracking when a note doesn't hit anything, and I don't think so. The note goes out, but I don't think it really tracks to see if it didn't hit anything. So that would really be beyond the scope of this video. So for now, you get 10 points for every note you get right. You lose 1 point for every note that you don't play. And currently, you do not lose any points if you hit hit a string and there's no note to be played. Like I said, we're going to have to build out the functionality to make that work. So the other thing that was asked at the beginning was about that error. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 21, 2, 3, 4. It's 24, but it starts at 0, so that's 23. So scrolling down a bit in the update section, this is where the coroutine goes to spawn note. And here's the spawn note routine, and it spawns the various notes. So basically, what we need to do is we need to have this only happen if the amount of positions here has not been exceeded by note mark. So what we can just do is if time reset is equal to y, and note mark is less than 22. That, I believe, should be all it should take to stop any additional notes from being spawned after 22. Let's watch. And there you go. So now basically what you've done is you've reached end of song. And what you would need to do is, in addition to not spawning any more notes, you'd also have to check to see when the last note is destroyed. And when it does, then you have like a summary screen. So that's the two things that I said I wanted to cover. We've covered how to avoid that error. Now we also have put into place the basics of an end of song functionality, as well as we have added a rudimentary scoring system. So that should about do it. If anyone else has any requests, just let me know. But at this point, that's really the basics of this. I wasn't really doing this series to be beginning to end. The whole idea is I try to give you the basics and then you build upon that, because at this point it's just rinse and repeat. Because obviously this is what's choosing the song notes. Okay, so it's just a matter of having a different list. Someone asked about, is there a way to take a song and have it turned into notes? I don't know anything about it myself, but previously commenters on another series of mine have said that apparently there is or are plugins for Unity that will listen to a song, or should I say analyze a song, and turn the notes into data points. So rather than every second, it would instead do it, the interval would be based on the music. So there is um, there is or are plugins out there that do that. But again, my apologies. I'm not a sound engineer, so I really can't speak to those. But that's what I've heard, is that there are indeed plugins for Unity that will analyze music and turn it into data points. And then it's just a matter of, rather than having a static list, instead you'd have the data points from that plugin. So that's about it. If you have any other questions, just let me know. But like I said, this was really just meant to give you the basics. This is really a solid foundation of how to make a how to make a rhythm game, and so that should about do it.